my insane ability to collect acne and the accompanying scars, as if it was a hobby of mine, there are certain things that I keep away from. When it comes to my diet, I keep away from caffeine. That is, except for a specific drink, a green tea drink called Matcha Powder. Now, I want to explain to you why Matcha Powder isn't like other caffeinated drinks and why it can in fact help with your hormonal adult acne. If you look below the video, before, during or after the video, and hit that notification or the like, subscribe, share and comment, that'd be massively appreciated, as YouTube loves it when you do that. I would also like to point out that below the description there are the 3 free guides: the Adult Acne More Than Skin Deep, Eczema More Than Skin Deep and Dry Skin More Than Skin Deep. We're available on Facebook, Instagram and on our own Tigs website. Let's get started. Now, although you hear me saying the words matcha powder, matcha is a plant, but it's obviously processed into a powder form after being extracted as a plant. Now, in the UK, we can only get it as a powder form. I can only guess that in other parts of the world you can get it in plant form. Matcha in itself is a caffeinated drink, but unlike black tea or normal green tea, coffee, energy drinks, things like cola, instead of causing an inflammatory response to your body, it actually causes an anti-inflammatory response, and also it has an antioxidant response as well. In other words, it actually helps your body and helps inflammation in your body and therefore on your skin and therefore your acne. It's actually 3 times more potent when it comes to antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties than green and black tea, so that's worth knowing. And also it helps to fight against insulin resistance. Not only does high insulin levels cause inflammation in the body and therefore again can trigger your acne, the actual matcha can prevent that from happening, so it's definitely worth having in your diet for those reasons alone. Matcha comes from Japan, and although it's a green tea, it's different to your usual green tea because it's a younger leaf, and in fact that's what makes it a stronger green colour as opposed to what you're probably used to seeing when it comes to teas and things like, or even green teas. And in the last few days before they're actually picked, they are grown away from the sun and in the shade, and that's what makes matcha powder different to your usual bog standard green tea. Now, personally and usually, I'm not a big caffeine drinker at all, so matcha powder is the only form of caffeine that I have in my diet. I probably have it about 3 times a week in the morning after having my smoothie, simply because I want to line my stomach with something before having any caffeine in there. Now, what I find is, yes, it has that caffeine taste that you get from black tea and usual green teas, but it doesn't leave that taste in your mouth. Now, in its powder form, you can probably have it with something like I have a non-dairy warm oat milk to make it into a latte. I've even seen it in some coffee houses and coffee shops as well. But you can also buy green tea in tea bags, but in which case it's not in its powder form, it'll be in the leaf form. So you do have a couple of options when it comes to how you're going to drink your actual matcha powder or matcha. Now, what you will find if you are someone who loves your caffeine and doesn't normally have any kind of sweetener, that's fantastic. But if you're not used to caffeine, you might need to use a kind of sweetener, like say for example a local honey. But if you do that, make sure your drink isn't boiling. But also what you will find is, whereas coffee or black tea, you get an instant hit, like high, and then you get the actual caffeine crash, you don't get that with matcha powder. You don't need much at all. I probably have less than half a level teaspoon, but you get a slow actual increase in that feeling of feeling energetic, and then it comes down slowly, so there's no crash either. So that benefits you, that benefits your insulin levels, and it benefits your antioxidant and your anti-inflammatory levels, because it's happening slowly rather than very, very quickly. Because of the speed that most caffeinated drinks enter the body, they can spike the hormone cortisol. This triggers a stress response, and that stress response can again cause inflammation in the body, and as you know by now, inflammation in the body can cause inflammation on the outside of the body, i.e. the skin, and therefore trigger off your hormonal acne. I'm also going to be really picky now. When you do try matcha powder, make sure you go for the organic type and the type from Japan. There are cheaper alternatives, however, if you get those, you're not getting the quality. And also, if you don't get organic matcha powder, you have no idea of the quality of the soil. Certain soils can have things like arsenic in them or just simple chemicals that don't belong in a matcha powder, which means you're not getting the benefits that you should be getting if you were having an organic Japanese matcha powder. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know how important it is to consume food and drinks that are high in antioxidants for our own skin health, which will help to clear up the free radicals in the skin that's caused by the sun, by pollution, by some of the foods we eat, by some of the drinks we drink, by the water, even our skincare ingredients. So this is really, really important to know, because matcha, and specifically organic matcha, contains an antioxidant called EGCG, and that stands for epigallocatechin gallate. There we go, got the words out. And this antioxidant helps combat several of the root causes of acne. Certain things we do with our bodies without even thinking can cause inflammation. Just the simple act of eating meat causes inflammation just by its very nature. I like meat. When I eat meat, my body becomes inflamed. It's that simple. Now, by drinking matcha powder, it can actually decrease inflammation in the body because it actually decreases the release of pro-inflammatory cells in the body. So that's a good reason to have matcha powder. Another one is it can protect you from the free radicals and the UV damage, which I've obviously mentioned previously. So it can also actually aid to reduce the scarring caused by your acne. So for myself, I get hyperpigmentation. Some people might get hypopigmentation, they might get keloid scarring or pitted scarring. It can help towards all the types of scarring that your acne can cause as well. Another benefit of including matcha powder in your diet, your regular diet, is it can also help restrict the sebum production, so the oil production in your skin. If you produce too much oil, that can also trigger your acne. But it can also help with the levels of sebum in your skin, because if you don't produce enough sebum, that means your skin can get too dry. That can be a trigger because it can block the pores and cause acne. It can also, if your skin is too dry and the body believes it's too dry, that can create overproduction of sebum as well, so the oil on your face. So in that respect, it's also proving very, very beneficial. And just to recap on before's EGCG, if you take matcha powder and this naturally reduces your insulin levels, this means you don't spike that hormone called cortisol. If you don't spike the cortisol, you don't cause stress, you don't cause inflammation, you don't cause acne, or you at least reduce the ability of getting acne. If you've watched any of my previous videos about milk and its effect on acne, you'll know that milk can increase your levels of IGF-1, which is your insulin-like growth factor 1 levels in your body. If that happens, you can also have an increased trigger of acne. That is really important because obviously if you have an increase in that, it can also block the pores, which can make the acne more inflamed as well. Now the reason I'm mentioning milk and IGF-1 is because the EGCG, the epigallocatechin gallate that you heard me mention previously, that is in matcha powder or matcha, helps to actually reduce the effects of the IGF-1 to the skin. It can actually prevent the skin cells from being overstimulated by blocking the actual IGF-1 receptors. So that's another good reason to have matcha powder as a drink. Now, if you're a lover of caffeine and not so much coffee itself, that's a win-win as far as I'm concerned. I like the effects of a slow release rather than that quick hit. Also, for me personally, it's a bit cheeky, but I don't like coffee breath. Don't like it on me or somebody else. So if you've had matcha powder as a coffee alternative, you're getting that slow release, but also you're not getting coffee breath. So win-win, there you go. Now many of you will already know that sometimes when you get gut issues, you get acne as well. It's a known fact, or maybe not a known fact, that coffee, tea, caffeinated drinks, they can all irritate the gut. They can then cause bloating, farting, pain, digestive issues, indigestion, and then this is a form of inflammation. The inflamed gut can then cause inflammation on the skin, and as you know by now, acne. Matcha doesn't do that. Matcha does the complete opposite, and in fact, not only does it help prevent the growth of pathogenic bacteria in the gut like viruses, bacteria, fungi and parasites, it also helps to heal the gut by introducing polyphenols. Now, polyphenols are the micronutrients that are broken down and become the good bacteria in your gut. You've probably seen adverts like the yogurts and stuff, good bacteria, bad bacteria. They're all full of sugar, so I don't bother drinking those, but matcha powder actually increases and improves the good bacteria in your gut. It's another common form of probiotic, if you know what I'm talking about. You can buy probiotic in the yogurt form, you can buy it in a liquid form, you can buy it as a capsule form, you can also get it in matcha. In fact, when it comes to caffeine, the only time I would say not to try matcha powder is if you know you have a caffeine sensitivity. Now, in the past, I thought that's what I had. I thought I had a caffeine sensitivity because I always got digestive issues when I had tea or coffee. I even got digestive issues and headaches when I had decaf tea. Now, what I found is when I have a small amount of matcha powder, those things just don't happen. So it's the type of caffeine that you're drinking that can actually be the issue to your health, your inflammation and your gut health. So it's good to know that there's an alternative out there if you do not have a caffeine sensitivity. Now, remember what I said previously on many of my videos, what works for one may not work for another because we are all unique. It's going to be trial and error, which is where the food diaries and the exclusion diets come into it. Those temporary exclusion diets where you drop known trigger foods that can cause your acne, your inflammation, your eczema, your gut issues. See what happens when you take all those trigger foods out for a fortnight and then reintroduce one at a time. Now, remember to only make one change at a time so you can see if that change has made a difference. Because if you do too many changes, you won't know what has worked because you've combined them all at the same time. Now, one thing I did try, once I established that I wasn't reacting badly to matcha powder, in a previous video or two videos, you've heard me discuss Moringa powder, which again has got lots of anti-inflammatory and antioxidant abilities. I actually make myself a nice hot latte with oat milk, and I actually do the half a teaspoon of matcha powder and a teaspoon of Moringa powder. Once it's slightly cooled down, I then add the honey to it, a little bit of cinnamon, and sometimes a little bit of turmeric. You've got stuff like a golden milk, but it's got the caffeine in there, and it's giving you lots and lots of antioxidant and anti-inflammatory benefits. So there you have it. Not only will your skin thank you for it, but your overall body health will thank you for it. And if you're making the effort to reduce the actual inflammatory foods and drinks that you're consuming, and increasing those anti-inflammatory foods and drinks like the matcha powder, like the Moringa powder, like turmeric and the cinnamon I just mentioned, you're giving your body a lot more help than you were previously, so you should start to see the difference and the benefits. Now, that's pretty much all I've got to say on this video. I want to keep it as short as possible. Give it a try. You can buy small bags of matcha powder online or in your local health shop. Make sure you go for the organic type and make sure you go for the Japanese type also. So that's me done for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, comment, hit the notification below so you know when the next video is coming out. And remember those booklets below in the description. Adult acne more than skin deep, eczema more than skin deep, and dry skin more than skin deep are for you. They're to benefit you. So please do take them and use them as you want. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.